ولا يوصي نعمه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بغض الهمم ولا يناله فوز الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر رياح برحمته ووتد بالسكر ما دان عرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من كان يريد العزة فلله العزة جميعا إليه يصعد الكلم الطيب والعمل الصالح يرفعه. صدق الله العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In Islam, morality is not just an abstract ideal. In Islam, all principles of ethical actions and all aspects of morality in Islam are contained in principle within the Quran itself. They are made concrete through what? Through the traditions of the Holy Prophet and through the teachings of the Holy Prophet and through the Sharia that we have. And through the Sharia, a person learns how a general principle such as justice, such as truthfulness is to be applied in our own daily lives. A Muslim, brothers, he has 5 degrees of duties. 5 duties. The first duty that he performs is a duty towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second duty that a Muslim performs is a duty towards himself. The third duty that a Muslim must perform is duties towards his family. The fourth duty that a Muslim performs are duties towards the immediate surroundings that this Muslim lives in. And the final duty, or the fifth duty, is for the whole Islamic nation, that a Muslim, if he can help, if he can perform a service for the whole Islamic Ummah, then it becomes necessary for him to perform that service for the Islamic Ummah. And in that same order. First and foremost, his duty is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think about it. Here, living in the West, we grew up with this idea that the first duty a person has is towards whom? Himself. Individual, the person. But Islam says no. The first duty a Muslim has is not to himself. The first duty a Muslim has is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is that? Why has Islam put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before the individual? It's completely opposite of what this society wants. Why is that? Because Islam already says, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that ultimate being. If tomorrow, God forbid, you have to choose between you or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what would you choose? What would you choose? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. This is what the religion wants. If tomorrow, if you have to choose between you and the religion of Allah, Allah wants you to choose the religion. If you look at Islamic history, if you look at the Aimah, that's exactly what they did. Choosing between themselves and choosing between Islam, choosing between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they all chose Islam. And you saw this in its peak through whom? Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala. Where the Imam, he chooses Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he chooses Islam over himself, over his family. That is that ultimate sacrifice. This is what Islam wants from an individual. That they know what their priorities are. Their first and foremost priority is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then to themselves. There exists a strong relationship between good belief on the one hand and the Sharia and morals on the other hand. Where do we get our moralistic beliefs? In Islam, where do we get our moralistic beliefs from? We get it from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Ahlul Bayt, the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet. That's where we get our, when we say that Islam in the West, they say that Islam is a religion, just like Christianity, just like Judaism. But as Muslims, we don't say Islam is just a religion. I've said this many times. We say that Islam is a whole way of life. It's a whole way of life. From the moment you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep, Islam tells you how to wake up. Islam tells you what you do after you wake up. Islam tells you how to sleep when you go to sleep. This is a whole way of life. It's not just a religion. Do you find these types of orders in Christianity? No, you don't. Do you find these types of orders in Judaism? No, you don't. So Islam is a whole way of life, and this whole way of life, how do we live this whole way of life? Where do we get our commands from? We get our commands from either the Quran or to the Sunnah of Ahlul Bayt, to the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet. They were the ones who embodied Islam. The Holy Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt were the ones who embodied Islam as a whole. The way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted a Muslim to live their life, they embodied that. So we get our moralistic beliefs from them. If man is that ultimate creature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, how does this man rise up to that creature? Is it the way we're living currently? Or no? Is it through our morals? It's through our morals. We will eventually, if we have good morals, we will eventually be higher than what? The angels. If our morals are completely useless, completely bad, completely evil, we're lower than the animals. It's these morals that will eventually either make us rise or make us fall. It's not what we have, it's not the house that we have, it's not the car that we have, it's not the monetary value that we attach to life. No, that's not what will make us, or that is not what takes us higher in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What takes us higher in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is how we treat, first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How we treat, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how we treat ourselves. What do we do with the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us? How we treat our family members. How we treat, just like this order, how we treat our family members. How do we treat the people that are around us? How do we treat all of humanity? And then after humanity, how do we treat all of creation itself? All of creation itself. Animal rights, Islam doesn't talk about animal rights, obviously it does. It has animal rights in it. This is what exactly a Muslim needs to do. How can they become muttaqeen? This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, and this is the mayar, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has as His litmus test to whom is higher in His eyes. The amount of taqwa, the amount of fearfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this mu'min, this person, this individual has. That is that litmus test in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in our eyes, it's something completely different. What is our litmus test in society, in this society, that tells us we've achieved something, we've become great? In this society that we live in, that litmus test ends up being what? The amount of money that we've accumulated. The house, what kind of house we live in, what kind of car we drive. These are the things that ended up becoming the litmus test in this society. When in reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, these are nothing. These mean absolutely nothing. Your litmus test is what? How you obey me. Islam, it comes from the word taslim, submission. Submission in what? Submission to whom? Submission how? Submission in just some aspects of Islam? Submission in just some orders that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you? No. Submission in every aspect. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to sleep in a certain way, submit to that order. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to pray as soon as we wake up in the morning, we submit to that command. When you completely submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command, then we can truly say that what? We are within the bounds of Islam. We have truly submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what submission truly means. When all of our body parts have truly submitted. What does that mean? For example, in the month of Ramadan, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, he says what? He says, look, in the month of Ramadan, when you fast, your fasting days should not be just like your normal days. The days that you fast shouldn't be like your normal days. In the month of Ramadan, when you fast, you have to remember that your eyes should also fast. Your hands should also fast. Your feet should also fast. Your ears should also fast. Your nose should also fast. Your tongue should also fast. What is this? What does this mean? At the end, when all of these body parts have fasted, you and I, we're what? These are parts of the whole. If the parts have not fasted, then can we say we as a whole have fasted? No, it becomes difficult. But what does the Imam mean when he says that the eyes should fast? What he means to say is in the month of Ramadan, if in the other days or if in the other months these eyes are looking at something haram, at the very least in the month of Ramadan, these eyes should not be looking at something that's haram. That's the fast of the eyes. The fast of the feet, meaning what? If in the other months, other than Ramadan, if these feet have taken you towards something haram, at the very least in the month of Ramadan, you prevent your feet from taking you towards something haram. In the month of Ramadan, if this tongue has lied, then at the very least in this month, the fasting of this tongue is that this tongue ceases to lie. That's the fast. The same way, these body parts should also submit. When all of these body parts have completely submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we can truly say that we are Muslims. We are those people that submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as we see today, especially in this society that we live in, it's just difficult. It's even difficult for us to wake up in the morning to offer 2 units of prayer. It's very difficult. Why is that? The way Islam wants us to live our life is somewhat different from the way this culture, this society wants us to live our life. That's where we come in and we have to make a choice. Do I want to live my life the way Islam wants me to live my life, or do I want to live my life the way this society wants me to live my life? If I can make both of them come together, perfect, there's no problem. But what happens when you have to choose between the two? What will you choose? Wake up in the morning to pray, or no, just stay in bed? What will you choose? Go to prayer for Zuhr, or stay at work? What will you choose? These are the choices that we have to make. And if we make the wrong choice here, we'll pay for it where? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Arhamur Rahimeen. He'll give you chances. But when you constantly make the same mistake and you don't learn from that mistake, then you have a right to be punished. And that's exactly what will happen on the Day of Judgment. What happens? You don't learn from your mistake. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you 60 years, 70 years, 80 years worth of chances. You never learn from your mistake. You never learn from it. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's justice comes in. And when we say to have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does that mean? 114 times in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the All-Merciful. Yet we're told to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is this a frightening being that we're worshipping? No. What we mean when we say fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to remember that justice has 2 aspects. One aspect is reward, the other aspect is punishment. When we talk about fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we talk about fearing the punishment aspect of it, the punishment aspect of His justice. That's what needs to be feared. And the reason that a lot of Muslims today aren't as devout is why? Living in this world, thinking about the world constantly, they've forgotten about that aspect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've forgotten about the afterlife. And when after we die, when that day comes, when we're being judged, then what will we say? Then that's when we'll say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, please send us back. Whatever we didn't do, we'll complete them. Then it's too late. Then it's too late. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He'll reply, no, when I said, even if I was to send you back, you'd continue to do the same thing. You'd continue to do the same thing. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. But when it comes to moralistic values, one of the moralistic values that Islam has emphasized, thoroughly Islam has emphasized very deeply, is truthfulness. When it comes to truthfulness as a moral value, is greatly emphasized in the Quran and emphasized greatly in the traditions of the Holy Prophet. Why? Why is this? Why is truthfulness so important? Why has Islam emphasized truthfulness? Why hasn't Islam, for example, emphasized justice? Is justice not as important? Justice is important. Justice is important. We have justice in the Shia school of thought, we have justice in our aqaid. But when it comes to man's dealings, truthfulness is important. Why? Because everything revolves around being truthful. If I'm a complete liar, if I lie now and then, what happens? Society as a whole will start being devoured. If society was based on falsehood, what happens to that society? Then they can't differentiate between what's true and what's false. Their falsehood ends up becoming their truth. When you constantly repeat a falsehood, people end up taking that as true. Over time, whether it's over time or within the same time, if many people repeat a falsehood, they'll start thinking that it is true. And what is about spreading falsehood that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala detests? It takes people away, first and foremost, for example, it takes people away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Spreading falsehood in this, when I say spreading falsehood in this sense that it takes people away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, falsehood in the sense of polytheism. Falsehood in the sense of atheism. Falsehood in the sense of beliefs. It takes people away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when we talk about just you and I in society, what does falsehood do? If someone's not truthful, it puts animosity between two people. And this animosity, it ends up leading, if it doesn't get controlled, it ends up leading to what? Fight. Or even worse, it'll end up leading to death. So when you see that falsehood is leading up to death, or it'll lead up to death, then it needs to be stopped as soon as possible. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has emphasized that Muslims should be truthful. Even the Imam alayhi salam, even the Holy Prophet alayhi salam. A person, he comes to the Holy Prophet and he says, Ya Rasulullah, can a Muslim be a drunkard? And the Prophet said, the Muslim can drink and he'll still be considered a Muslim. Can a Muslim commit adultery? Yes, they can still be considered Muslim. Then they ask, can a Muslim lie? And the Holy Prophet says, no. A Muslim cannot lie. The same type of question was put forward to Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. Ibn Rasulullah, can a Muslim be a drunkard? Imam, he goes, yes, a Muslim can be a drunkard. Ibn Rasulullah, can a Muslim be a zani? Can a Muslim be an adulterer? And the Imam, he goes, yes, the Muslim can be. Can a Muslim be or a mu'min, can a mu'min be a liar? And the Imam, he goes, no, a mu'min cannot be a liar. A mu'min cannot be a liar. When you look at the commonality between both of these hadiths of the Holy Prophet and Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, what's the commonality? It's that if you're a Muslim or if you're a mu'min, you can be everything else. It's possible that you can drink. It's possible that you can be adulterous. It's possible that you can commit all these other sins. But there's one sin that if you're a Muslim or if you're a mu'min, you cannot commit. What is that? Lying. Lying. So what does this tell you about lying? This shows you how evil this is. It tells you how evil this is. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعمه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهت الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن ثابتا الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا عجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته وودد بالسخر ميدان أرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد, the second sermon, because I started about one moral aspect of Islam, the second sermon I want to talk about what the core or what the essence of Islam is. What is Islam completely based on? If I was to completely just summarize it, Islam is based on just one. Islam is based on one saying, one sentence, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Islam, all of Islam, if we were to even bring it down, Islam is based on Tawheed. Tawheed is a foundation of Islam. Everything else in Aqaid comes after Tawheed. If you, for example, in our school of thought, Adal, Nabut, Imamat, Qayamat, they all come after Tawheed. There is no point in Qayamat, there's no point in Nabut, there's no point in Imamat, there's no point in justice when you don't even believe in God. There's no point in any of that. The core of Islam is Tawheed. And when you look at the Quran, when you look at the Hadith, you see that the Quran itself, why does it say? Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say so many times to worship Allah? To worship Him. Why is that worship there? Because in Islam, that worship is what you signifying or you telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what? That we believe in you. We believe in you. Through our actions, not our tongue. There are times when our tongue says one thing, but our actions, they say something completely different. They say something completely different. And this prayer is the perfect example of our action and our words uniting. It's when this human being is in the state of sajda, and when he says, Subhan Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. If you think about the position this human being is in, and you think about what this human being is saying in that position, you realize that it is this prayer that tells us how great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Or it is this human being who shows how great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. When we're on all fours, when our head is touching the ground, when our head is touching this turba, that is when we say what? Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. All praise be to that Lord who is all high. Look at our position and look at what we're saying. At that moment, our actions and our words, they completely align. A lot of people, they don't know what every single action of the prayer is. Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. Their whole life, they do prayers, but they don't know, for example, what the qiyam means. What does it mean when we stand in prayer? What does that standing mean? What does it mean? What does it mean when we go to our knees, when we bow down? That action, not what we say during that action, but that action itself, it has a meaning. What is the meaning of that action? What is the meaning of us saying takbir? What does saying Allahu Akbar mean? Every time if you look, there's a sermon by Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen says every time we say Allahu Akbar, it has a different meaning. It has a different meaning. But when we translate Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest, we think that it has the same meaning. But every time we say Allahu Akbar, if you think about the way we pray, every time we say Allahu Akbar, it is before or after a certain action. When we go to sajda, what does that sajda itself mean? What does it mean? We don't think about this. Why Because all we're worried about is, you know what, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to pray, we must pray. We don't know what the actions mean. We don't know even what the first takbir means. The first takbir is called Takbiratul Ihram. What does that mean? Takbiratul Ihram. Takbiratul Ihram, if you were just to take it in general definition, it means that after this takbir, there are certain things that become haram for you to do. There are certain things that become haram for you to do. Just like in Hajj, when you wear your ihram, what does that mean? People would assume that you're wearing ihram as a piece of cloth. No, ihram is a whole. For example, it encompasses you. After you put on that cloth, you're in a state of ihram, meaning that there's certain things that become haram for you to do once you put on that cloth. It's the same thing when we say takbir al-ihram, the very first takbir of the salat. After we say that Allahu Akbar, there's certain things that become haram for us. Many of us, we don't think about the prayer in this way. We just pray and we're happy that we've prayed. We don't pay attention to our prayers. We don't pay attention to even what we're saying in our prayers. And is this the type of prayer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants? That you're doing it just for the sake of doing? Are these the ibadat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you're doing for the sake, just for the sake of doing? Or no, does He want something more from you? When you look at the Holy Prophet, what did the Holy Prophet used to do? The Holy Quran itself, it says so many times, for the people to think, for the people to think. So why don't we think about the prayer that we do 5 times a day, but we never think about it? We never think about what it means. All we think about is what? I need to pray, that's it. We say that this is our ibadat. If we look at it from this aspect, the animals themselves, they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their own way. Which way is that? That they follow the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that animalistic world. That's their ibadat. They don't need to think, they don't have rationality, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us rationality, so why don't we think? If we want to be above these animals, then it becomes necessary for us to think. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, the first surah that we read in the Quran, Ihdina Suratal Mustaqim. Sirat alladhina an'amta alayhim. Guide us to the straight path. What is the straight path? Not the path. This straight path, this is a straight path. Guide us to the straight path. Not the path of those upon those people that you bestowed your wrath upon. So there are other paths. The surah, if you analyze the surah, it's telling you that there are other paths, but there is also a Sirat al-Mustaqim. Those other paths are those paths that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put His anger on. Those people that follow those paths, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has become angry with them. So what is this Sirat al-Mustaqim? Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam, he himself, he says, look, when we talk about Sirat al-Mustaqim has 2 aspects. One aspect is in this world, one aspect is in the next world. When it comes to Sirat al-Mustaqim of the aspect of this world, it means to follow the guided Imam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen. That guided Imam is that Sirat al-Mustaqim, is that straight path to knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. As to the one who does not know this, the Imam in this world, he says that his foot, on the Day of Judgment, the Imam, he says, look, the one who knows the Imam in this world, on the Day of Judgment, when he's on Put Sirat, on that bridge, he won't falter. But as to that person who doesn't know the Imam, they will falter on that bridge and they'll slip. So this English-speaking audience, Islam is often advertised as what? As a monotheistic religion, just like Christianity or just like Judaism. But Islam is not like that. Islam is a monotheistic religion, but it's not like Christianity, it's not like Islam. It has more depth to it than them. In the sense that when you look at the hadiths, it's because of these hadiths, brothers and sisters, a lot of these hadiths is these hadiths that differentiate us from them. How? They don't have the sayings of, for example, Prophet Jesus. They don't have the sayings, for example, of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. If they had those sayings, they would have been able to follow those sayings the way that we follow the sayings of the Holy Prophet. It's because we have these sayings of the Holy Prophet that we're able to observe Islam the way that the Holy Prophet wanted us to observe Islam. It's these sayings. But Islam has emphasized, first and foremost, what? Tawheed. Tawheed is the core of Islam. After this core, after you realize that Tawheed is this core, after you come to enlightenment that yes, there is a God, then you go on to the next step of Nabuwwat. If you falter on Tawheed, then there's no point in for you to go to Nabuwwat. You won't even get to Nabuwwat. You won't get to Nabuwwat. You won't get to Imamat. You won't get to Adalat. You won't get to Qayamat. You won't get to any of these if we don't know about Tawheed. And Tawheed in Islam is completely different in relation to Christianity. Tawheed in Islam is different in relation to Judaism. The Tawheed of Islam, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is completely different. Christianity, how do they believe in God? Christianity, they believe that God is, not in the sense of Trinity, but God is in a form like us. He has a form. That is the type of Tawheed that they believe in. That's how they believe in God. Yes, the Trinity, that's true. But they believe that God has a form. In Islam, we say, no, that's not possible for God to have a form. When it comes to Tawheed itself, it's different. So how can you say that Islam, just like Christianity, is a monotheistic religion? No, it's not just like Christianity. Christianity is a monotheistic religion, yes, but it's not just like it. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahus samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Inshallah, we will have Jummah. I just want to remind everyone that in the first rakat, in Jummah prayers, there's two qunut. In the first rakat, the qunut is before ruku. In the second rakat, the qunut is after ruku. Now, if in the first rakat, I go for qunut, the imam goes for qunut, and you go down for ruku, then you can't come back up if you have started saying Subhana Rabbil Azimi wa bihamdih. You can't come back up. You should stay down there until the imam, he comes down to ruku. In the second rakat, after the ruku, we come back up for the qunut. If you go down for sajda and you start saying Subhana Rabbil Ala wa bihamdih, you can't come back up. You have to stay down there and you have to continue to repeat Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. If you come back up, then your namaz is void, it's batil. Please get ready for salah.